The original Metroid is considered a classic for a very, very good reason. It established the character of Samus Aran. It conceptualized the Metroidvania format. It was difficult. It was challenging. It was an extremely popular cult classic NES game. It was a lot of fun for its time. Unfortunately, the original Metroid hasn't aged all that well. It's not quite on par with like Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda. And so Nintendo decided that it needed a complete overhaul. And following the release of Metroid Fusion on Game Boy Advance, they put out Metroid Zero Mission on the same console. A remake of the original. A very faithful reimagining of the original game with new features, new power-ups, a new map system, and new story elements. Zero Mission is a complete overhaul of the original game in the best possible way. Zero Mission is a lot of fun from start to finish. I've played this game countless times, over and over and over and over again, and although I have a couple of gripes about it, I don't like how the game tells you where to go. I don't like maybe the ending part isn't as good as it could have been. Maybe it's a little bit too easy. Maybe they could have added a couple more power-ups. All in all though, this game does a great job sort of retroactively adjusting the original Metroid so that it fits better in continuity with all the sequels. Of course, like, for example, Kraid in the original Metroid was depicted as being about Samus' size himself, but in Super, he became gigantic. And so Zero Mission adjusted the character, adjusted that boss fight, and gave him... redesigned it so it was more in line with the Super encounter. And it was a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. The game is gorgeous with pretty good sprite work, great animations, very satisfying to play. I think more than anything, it really irons out the core problem with the original is that it is a lot more modernized. The original, although a lot of fun, kind of required you to draw your own maps, have a lot of memorization, have just wasting your time essentially. Zero Mission adjusts it significantly, so you don't necessarily need to get fanatical, obsessive with where you're going and what you need to do next and stuff like that. And some people will see that as a downside, but the game manages to do a pretty good job of balancing it. It's a little bit too easy in the gameplay department, but when it comes to the map system and where to go, it's a lot more streamlined, and as a result, it's a lot brisker. The pacing is better. You know where you're going all the time. And in the case of the original Metroid, I think that's exactly what the game needed. Although, ideally, I think the game should have been more open-ended to begin with. Essentially, essentially what I'm saying is that, although I would have preferred a completely open-ended Metroid with a lot of sequence breaking and things like that, Zero Mission had to work with the confines of the original game, what it did, and attempt to recreate that as accurately as possible. And they did that. And the way they did that was allowing you, giving you a bit more direction on where you're supposed to go. And it kind of diminishes the experience a little bit, but on the whole, I think it really contributes a lot to the experience. There are new boss fights. There are new enemy encounters. There's a lot more out of nowhere, a lot of nowhere sequences. The game is a lot of fun to play. And honestly, to be completely honest with you, this probably is the Metroid that people should start off with. Not only is it the game that kicks off the Metroid saga, the first in the series, it's by far the easiest to play and get into. It's a lot more structured. There's a lot more. There's a lot less tedious elements. There isn't really anything that will It's a very core, like very basic Metroid game, and for a beginner player, that's a great thing. More experienced players will probably prefer something like Super or Dread, which have a lot more going on. But I think Zero Mission is probably the entry that first time players should try to get into. It's engaging, it's fun, it's iconic. Zero Mission, in spite of being probably my least favorite 2D Metroid game, is absolutely a Nintendo classic.